Hello, friends. Welcome to another Saturday Night Live with Jordan and
Sarah.
hope everyone's having a great day today. So we'll give it just a minute, let the notification go out to the world that we are live. I just got it. Make sure that y'all are getting notifications. Ring that little bell icon. It'll send you a nice little reminder. Say, hey, the Crowders are doing stuff. Come listen. So today, like we do every week, we're going to do a quick recap of the week's videos and then do some deep dive on some questions. We got a crap ton of questions this week, a crap ton of comments because we talked about some spicy stuff, didn't we?
We sure did.
What did we talk about this week, Sarah?
Well, I mean, my favorite
Quiz time
was the LOOSH episode.
Yeah.
But there was also the Collins Elite. So I didn't know where you wanted to start.
Well, let's quickly go over the Collins Elite because I was going to say that's a little more depressing than Thursdays, but it's all perspective because most people are terrified of LOOSH, and that's why I wanted to do my little happy spin on LOOSH. So hopefully you watched the whole video on Thursday, because if you only watched the first half, you probably had a rough day. So yeah, Tuesday. So Tuesday we went into the Collins Elite, and kind of about like the reason I did that video is because I keep seeing people talking about aliens and calling them demons. And this is not anything new per se. I mean, people have been trying to figure out what aliens are for the longest time, and lots of people have made that connection between aliens and demons. So nothing new. Before I go any further, can you guys hear me? Let's do a quick sound check. Somebody throw a comment in there if you can hear and see us. We're known for our technical difficulties, so I just want to make sure before we get any further that everything's working today, but I'll assume it is, and I'll wait for questions to come in. But and also keep throwing your questions in here, and at the end we'll go through all the questions. Sounding good? Thanks, guys. So and it might help, like if you have a question, maybe do it in all caps. We'll try that out. So
you have to shout your question.
Shout your question. Yep.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. But only do all caps if it's a question, okay? That way it'll be easier for me to scroll through and pick out the questions. All right, so first video was on the Collins Elite and kind of this concept of aliens being demons. And I'm not in any way saying they are or they aren't, you know, I don't know. I think more than likely it's just basically what people consider demons come from like alien encounters, because alien is such a broad term. It basically just means any sort of like an intelligence that is not human and of earthly origins, even though a lot of things that we call aliens we're coming to find out are of earthly origins, including probably demons, you know, because demons are just these like spirits. Like actually going back to the day, they were called daemon, and back in Plato's days, you know, he kind of thought that the daemons were, you know, the Nephilim, you know, spirits that got trapped in earth after the flood, and that they weren't like good or bad, they were just disembodied spirits. So in that case, you know, a daemon isn't bad, it's just a spirit, right? So you have good spirits and you have bad spirits. And then that kind of got twisted over the years into demons, and then it got twisted into demons are bad. Then it got twisted into anything that's not human is a demon, and that's bad. Unless, of course, it's an angel. So that's kind of where we're at now. It's like if it's good, it's an angel. If it's bad, it's a demon. And then if someone has an alien encounter, they're like, if it's good, it's an angel, and if it's bad, it's a demon. And it's like, or there could just be all sorts of different types of spiritual entities and aliens and extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, all sorts of things. And some are good, some are bad. And a lot of that has to do with your perspective. Like I used a metaphor in the video on Tuesday about, you know, like if you're a deer and you've got your little deer family and you're in a forest, and like a human developer comes and builds a strip mall, well, they're going to seem pretty fucking evil to you, right? But that doesn't mean that that developer's inherently evil. So it's all perspective. Like sometimes things are parasitic, or things need to eat, or things need a host, right? Just like viruses need a host body. You know, does that make a virus evil because it's penetrating into a host body and trying to establish itself? It's not evil, right? It just needs a host. So I think there's some spiritual things that are the same way. They need host bodies, and they got to do what they got to do to survive. So to us, that's evil, right?
I guess we are the same thing to the earth.
I mean, it's all perspective, right? So
now you have a question there.
Big caps. Seems to me that the Zionist and the Collins Elite are the same thing. What do you think? Well, so the Collins Elite, if you don't know, like a quick definition of it, and this is kind of a loose definition because there's not like an official definition, because officially this group doesn't exist, but officially, so shh, don't tell anyone. But unofficially, the Collins Elite is this like government think tank. It's kind of like this group of people in the government that are tasked with being sort of these spiritual, philosophical advisors to the government and the military, around the UFO topic. It's how they navigate the UFO topic is with these people's sort of, what these people say guides them. And these people are very, 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 from all the evidence and leaks and books and everything, very religious. And they look at everything through a very Christian, kind of Christian fundamentalist view. So they look at aliens as demons. So somebody brought up, are they Zionists? I mean, I just think that they're, they kind of look at everything through that kind of Revelations sort of end of days, kind of a view. And, that's, you see that like in the government. The reason I even brought this up is because a lot of people in the government, several different sitting congresswomen and congressmen have used that word, aliens or demons. So it's kind of obvious that this Collins Elite kind of mentality, whether they're an actual group or whether now that group is kind of past and gone, is it still a group in the government, or is it just an ideology? Is it just that the government has this philosophy on aliens and they see them this way? And then is that all aliens? Right? Are they basically saying there's only one kind of aliens and they're all demons? Because that seems kind of short-sighted. Or are they saying all aliens, like anything that's non-human intelligence, is a demon? Well, that seems really crazy. Because then they also say there's angels. Okay, well then what's an angel and what's a demon, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the dividing line?
Right.
Is it just because you have a good experience, so that makes it an angel? Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could have a good experience with a demon, right? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, if they're trying to get you to do something, right?
Exactly, that'd be a good experience.
So like we discussed earlier today, like I know people have negative experiences with like Hat Man and that kind of stuff. I haven't had negative experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've experienced these things, but it hasn't been negative.
Exactly.
So
that's the thing is,
in
like,
my case, I wouldn't say that what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, Hat
from
Man
my perspective,
didn't hurt us, didn't threaten us, nothing bad. There was no residual effect, like nothing happened. It was just an experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't really good or bad. It was just an experience.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now we could have taken that and we could have totally, I don't know, blown it out of proportion and said this was a demonic incursion and demonic entity. And we could have like spun and spiraled with it. And then that would have turned into a negative experience for us. But that doesn't mean that being, whatever that being was, came in with the intention of like scaring us or causing a negative experience. And I use an analogy in the video about like, you can have a negative experience with a dog. Like a nice dog can scare you. Say you're walking around the neighborhood at night and a dog runs up on you, a big dog runs up on you. That's gonna be scary. Now, is that dog evil? Is that dog, no, it's just you had a scary experience with a dog.
Right.
So sometimes we have scary experiences with spiritual entities, and none of this is to say there's not demonic entities or there's not just really asshole disembodied spirits out there, because there's spirits that have died, that are stuck, that are vindictive, that are confused, that are scared. There's spirits that do all sorts of crazy stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean they're evil, but there can be mean-spirited spirits for sure. Right. And there's tons of evidence of that. But the whole point of my video was to say, okay, for these government officials to kind of just label everything that's non-human intelligence as either angel or demon is a weird thing to do. And especially as you start to see these countries acting out like the end days scripts of their various religions. You have, every religion has like an eschatology. It has like the books of their end days and that kind of stuff. And a lot of them are very similar. I go through this in my video on Tuesday of how similar a lot of these major religions, their end of days stuff are, and how it seems almost like these are not really prophecies. They're more like these almost like scripts, like magic scripts that people are acting out to do something. And it's really weird. And they're using like aliens as this almost like excuse. They're like, as proof, like, see, the demons are here. So with the Collins Elite, according to like Nick Redfern's books and some insider leaks, is that they think that the aliens aren't aliens, that they're demons, and that they're orchestrating disclosure, and they're trying to convince the people of Earth that there's this imminent alien threat. And then that will bring all the people of Earth together, and then they can create a one world government and say, okay, there's this external alien threat, and the only way you can be safe is if we all come together, we create a one world government, and then we can protect you. But the kicker is that one world government is run by the aliens or the demons, and now they have us all under their control. And what the Collins Elite can do is create this Christian theocracy, which is like a Christian militarized government, and then kind of get everybody to join to become, recruited into Christianity. And then that will turn the tides, and we'll have this like wave of Christianity and spiritualness that fights. It'll be the good against the evil. And this is basically Armageddon. And now this is what like a lot of people that have written about the Collins Elite say. They don't say this, of course, because they officially don't exist. But this is what people like Nick Redfern wrote a great book called Final Events or something in 2010 that goes in depth about all this. And so anyways, it's just really interesting because, like you could look at all that and say, that's stupid. Doesn't make any sense. But then Anna, Paulina, Luna, Marjorie, what's her name? Marjorie Green, different people like that. They're both in like sitting congresswomen. And then you have like, Tucker Carlson, he's very adamant that all aliens are demons essentially. And he has a huge audience. And these people like, Anna Luna goes on like Joe Rogan and Danny Jones, that kind of stuff, and basically says that, this is all from like the book of Enoch. And these are, demons and angels and this kind of stuff, but with no evidence or anything. And it's like, well, are you just looking at it through that Christian lens, or is there proof? Is there evidence? Because if there's evidence, hey, let's hear it. Like, that's interesting. Also, one side note, there's a guy named Robert Temple. Y'all might have heard of him. He wrote that amazing book, New Science of Heaven. And he has talked on several podcasts about, because he's an astral explorer, and he is a scholar too. I mean, he's a professor, and he's a very like classically trained person, but he's also an avid out of body and astral explorer, and spends a lot of time in the astral. And he's had some wild experiences in his life. And he talks a lot about how he has met angels like face to face. And he says that they are weird, and that they are, like kind of scary. So just to throw it out there, people think demons bad, angels good. When he talks about angels, he says that the angels are so unlike humans that we can't even have conversations with them. They're too powerful. They're not emotional, and they don't act like us at all. And it's really hard for humans to have conversations and interactions with angels. They're not bad. They're just, he describes them as extremely weird and extremely intimidating. So just something to think about when we try to think about like angels versus demons. It's like, they might all be the same thing. You know what I mean? Because we don't really know like what any of this stuff is. So it's just kind of weird that like, I don't know. That's the whole point of that video on Tuesday, is like, why are we calling aliens demons all of a sudden? And if they are, then what's the dividing line between an angel and a demon? And does that mean there's only angels and demons and there's no aliens? Or are there angels and demons and there's aliens? I just wish these government officials would actually clarify some of their statements, because they say this crazy shit nonchalantly, and like no one ever challenges them on it. And we just like, people run with the headlines, Congresswoman says aliens are demons. And it's like, no proof, no anything, no follow-up. They just say that. Everyone's like, oh my God. So what does it even mean?
I'd be interested to have a peek into a conversation between Tucker Carlson and Chris Bledsoe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, Chris thoroughly believes it's all angelic and well-being and,
But see, even Chris,
of light.
His initial experience was very scary and terrifying, and like traumatized him and his family. Yeah. And then it got more angelic when they started like healing him and that kind of stuff. But according to him, these were the same entities. So why at the beginning were they terrifying and almost like mean-spirited, and then they got nicer and nicer?
Yeah.
Is it possible that it was because at the beginning he was full of fear? So that's, he rendered his reality based on his fear, or were the beings like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, where did the fear come from? Was it Chris's fear manifesting, or was it them being mean-spirited and causing fear in him? Because, I mean, you brought up a good point. Chris thinks that these are angels, but at the beginning, he didn't.
Right.
At the beginning, he said it was terrifying.
But Like,
It wasn't until like he had multiple experiences with them until he got the feeling that they were good and they
right.
started healing him. Before that, they were like terrorizing him, and it was very scary.
But was it like his interpretation
Exactly.
of it, and they weren't meaning to like be scary to him?
Exactly.
You know?
That's what I'm saying. So a lot of it is like, you see how you could have one being that doesn't really have an intention. Like their intention is not necessarily to scare you or to be your friend. They just are what they are. It's like if you see a bear in the woods.
Right.
That bear's not trying to scare you.
Right.
That bear's just being a fucking bear.
Yep.
But it's scary if you see a bear in the woods, right? So does that make a bear scary? No. Bears aren't scary inherently. They're just bears, right?
Well, I mean, we live at the beach. You see a shark. I mean, it's a little bit of a hold your breath for a second, but you know,
Yeah.
they're not coming right at you.
Plus, I mean, we've had lots of sharks swim right underneath our boards,
Mhm,
right
yeah.
past our feet.
Swam over some sleeping ones before.
That's what I'm saying. So sharks aren't like, their job is not to scare you. Their job is just to be a shark. So these entities that people label as demons, are they demons? Are they out to scare you? Or are they just like, we just don't understand them? So I had a post on X, and I basically said that, it seems like a lot of what people call demons are just intelligences that we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. We don't understand.
We live in two totally different worlds. So, like in some cultures, things that we say and do in America are considered extremely rude, right?
Yeah.
So, like if we just went to a different country and behaved the way that we do, like a lot of times we're considered rude.
Yeah.
But it's just because we're out of our environment, right? So like maybe it's just like they don't know how to act like a human and what would be scary to a human and vice versa, right? So
totally, they could be scaring the shit out of somebody and not even realize what it is they're doing necessarily that's scaring the person, right? Because you get the impression a lot of these beings are actually trying to be stealthy,
right?
Like when you wake up in the middle of the night and you see one, usually when they realize the person is awake, they're like, oh shit, they can see us, and then they retreat. It's almost like they don't want to be seen, and you could look at that as like, okay, well, that's kind of shady, and because they're, you know what I mean? But also they take care a lot of times with people to give what's called screen memories, where they'll kind of wipe your memory and replace it and stuff. So it's like even when they do have to interact with people, it's almost like they do take care to like make sure the person doesn't remember it, or the person has like a not as traumatizing of an experience as it could be.
Yeah.
For example, we talked about Hat Man the week before, and like, this is a real interesting thing about Hat Man. People think Hat Man's like this scary demon thing, or any shadow being that's in your room at night is like a demon that's there to terrorize you. Well, here's the thing. Usually, not every time. I know people are going to be like, hey, mine was a total prick. But most of the time, whenever you wake up and you consciously know it's there, and they know that you consciously know it's there, they'll normally leave.
Yeah.
They're like, uh-oh, and they get out.
Yeah.
If their job was just to terrify you as much as possible, that would be the time to do it. You have sleep paralysis, you're in bed, you're already scared. So if they're there only to terrify you, why at that point would they leave? Because most of the time, when people have alien encounters or shadow being encounters in their bed, most of the time, whenever they see them and the beings see that they see them, they leave. So that means that they're not really trying to terrify you. It's just a scary experience. So my whole point for all this is not to like take the side of the demons. It's to say that like a lot of the stuff that we're scared of is just because we don't understand it. So there's like that whole exposure therapy thing where they basically say, like, going back to sharks, they'll say things like, if you're scared of sharks, the best thing you can do is learn all about sharks, like learn about sharks, go to a shark tank. And then as soon as you learn about them and you're educated about them and you've spent some time with them, all of a sudden you're not scared of them anymore. So I think that, there is an aspect of just less fear. Yeah.
There's more of an understanding.
Yeah. It's exposure therapy where, you just expose yourself to the thing that you have fear about, and it helps. So I think there's a big part of that happening where, we don't know what these things are. So if we don't know what it is, we're scared of it. And I think that's not a great place to be. I think what we should be doing is just learning more, trying to communicate more and learn more. I know so many people hate me for that because they're like, no, do not communicate with these things. Do not, and all that. And I get it, but like, they're communicating with us. So it's kind of like, to me, it seems like, I don't know. It seems weird to like, I don't know. I just think so many things get better the more you learn about it. and the more you communicate and the more that you try to, I don't know, like everything out there is probably a lot like humans in the sense that humans spend most of their days and stuff trying to survive, trying to eat, trying to find purpose, trying to find answers. What if a lot of these beings are doing the same thing? They have to eat. They need energy of some sort. You know, they're trying to find answers. They're trying to do whatever, you know. So I don't know. I just think that like teamwork makes the dream work, right? So I don't know.
Yes, Steve, still not swimming with great whites in the water. No. But that's whenever you educate yourself and you say, don't go in the water with great whites.
Exactly.
Kelly, have you tried checking out your own house while astro traveling so you can directly question Hatman or any ghost spirits you encounter, maybe assist, pass them over if they're lost? That's not a Jordan thing. That's a me thing.
Yeah.
And yes, that is a thing that has happened. Like we haven't had a Hatman encounter since I started helping people move to the other side. And I have like a ritual that I do whenever I go to bed at night to like let spirit know that I am gonna rest for a little while.
It's communication.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
communicate. Sarah communicates a lot with the other side, and that communication helps a lot.
So I, like 5 years ago or so, took a course and I essentially like turned on the open sign for like spirit channeling, and I had to learn separately to like turn off the open sign whenever I go to bed and that kind of stuff so that they aren't just coming all the time.
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating. I mean, it actually works. Like, so it's funny, like people talk about if you're having some sort of like a encounter, right, with an alien or a demon, that if you recite like the Lord's Prayer, it makes them go away. And that works. I mean, I've heard that from many, many people.
Or call on Jesus.
Yeah, call on Jesus, any of those things. But then, so then people say, see, obviously they're demons because if you recite the Lord's Prayer or call on Jesus, they go away. And so that's verification that these are demons and that this is some sort of religious, spiritual thing. But just as many people will say that they have made them go away by literally just taking sovereignty over their body or their surroundings and saying things like, hey, I don't want you here. Or this is my room, get out, or I don't consent to you being here, or anything like that. So it's not necessarily that this is purely religious and you have to evoke Jesus Christ and that it won't work if you're a Muslim or something like that. It's that by doing that, you're basically, it's like intention. You're setting the intention that you don't want them here and you're calling on help. And you can do that in a bunch of different ways. And it goes back to if the other beings were so, demonic and so hell-bent on terrorizing and death and destruction, they wouldn't respect that. They wouldn't listen. But it seems like there are these rules. There's like universal rules, even in the spiritual side, that that they obey. Absolutely. In a weird way, that they obey these rules. But you have to actually put it out there. You have to let them know that this is the rule or this is the line or this is your intention. And it seems like, I'm not going to say every single time, but it seems like most of the time those rules are obeyed, even by what we would call negative entities.
Mm-hmm. My good friend that is a medium, Jenny, she has a rule that once she closes her bedroom door, like they're not allowed in her bedroom. And once she closes that door, like, that's it for the day.
Yeah. Set those boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we do a lot of like, at the Monroe Institute, we call it the reballs, but energy balls, protective, like shield, basically. That stuff really works, because it's the same kind of concept. You're creating a rule set around you. You're creating a invisible barrier that other entities have to respect. So you can place like a force field around you. So, and it works. Okay, enough about demons, guys.
There was a question in there from Joel I just want to get to really quick.
Right. Not done yet.
So he's a QHHT level 1 intern.
Cool.
Had asked if I'd had any like mind-blowing experiences. And
yeah, probably too many to.
Just keep with it. You'll find your perfect groove as you go, and the people that come to you are drawn to you for a specific reason. Like you'll just watch as you grow through it. you're going to find like all these beautiful connections with the people that are drawn to you. But yeah, I've literally had other people's higher self like give me advice and stuff like that, that I did not ask a question, but like, hey, this message needs to come through to you today. So yeah, super cool. Just keep with it. You'll do great.
And Gates, I'm glad you said that, because actually me and Sarah were just talking about this, that it seems like a lot of times what they're doing, and this is my take on the parasitic entities. Okay. So, I don't want people to think that I'm all roses and rainbows and everything's good and all that, because, you know, I've had bad experiences and, you know, like when I was at my rock bottom days, I felt like something had, you know, kind of taken over and possessed my body at times. I mean, I was operating in ways that I wouldn't normally operate. And I know I was heavily addicted to alcohol and stuff, but, you know, I think that I had left myself vulnerable, and things can hijack your vessel. And me and Sarah were just talking about this the other day, that like, think about how bullies operate, right? Like playground bullies, they'll try to bully people that are easily bullyable. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Bullyable. I like it. So people that are easily bullyable will be bullied, because that's what bullies do. They want to be able to pick on people that are easy targets. So I think that a lot of these kind of I would call them like opportunistic, like kind of parasitic entities, they're poking. They're going around and poking on people. So they might pop into your room. They might pop in when you're having a bad day or you're emotionally down or something, and they might look for little vulnerabilities, little holes, little entry points. And so it's just one of those things where, you know, you have to take care of your physical body, because you want to be physically strong, and you also have to take care of your spiritual body, because you got to be spiritually strong, and you got to be emotionally strong. And if you're strong, then they won't fuck with you, because why would they? Like, it's easier just to go to the next person who is more easily bullyable. Okay. So a lot of it, I think, is testing, you know, when it comes to those more opportunistic parasitic entities. I think that they are kind of poking and looking for openings. So, I mean, there might be some out there that want the challenge and they're like, ooh, you're strong and I'm still going to fuck with you. But most of the time, it seems to be when people are at a breaking point, when they're broken emotionally. They seem to be very, that's why I call them opportunistic. They seem to come when you're at a low point, because they know that it's easier. Okay.
Yeah.
So it might be a test from like maybe your higher self or something like that testing you. But I think there are some parasitic entities and opportunistic entities that are looking for easy targets. So try not to be an easy target.
Yep.
You know,
Keep yourself strong.
just keep yourself strong and
we know that
positive.
Right? Like,
they hate positivity.
Yep. And like, I did a presentation on Wednesday all about gratitude, and that is 100% like, if you can stay in a frequency of gratitude and appreciation, you're going to be way out of their level.
Yeah. And I mean, Kolk Dutch brought up most need help, but they just won't admit it. I would always, that's what I was getting at earlier about the whole teamwork thing and communication. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Say you're having some sort of a dark entity that's messing with you or something like that. What is the harm in saying, hey man, like, is there anything I can do to help you? You know what I mean? Like, is there something like wrong that I can help with? Maybe it's just a disembodied spirit that's literally stuck. I mean, Robert Monroe in his books talks, they have a whole program at the Monroe Institute called Lifelines. The entire point of it is helping basically stuck spirits. This is a real thing. Not all spirits, as soon as you die, your consciousness usually goes back up and there's like a pretty magnetic flow, and it's, you know, but sometimes they get stuck. Sometimes they get stuck, and that's what we call ghost. Ghost is just a disembodied spirit that's stuck here.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're stuck because they're sad, or they're stuck to a particular person or place, and sometimes they're actually just stuck and they're lost, and they can lash out because they are confused. Not all the time do they even know that they're dead. And so
what was the story with Robert and the guy that was like hiding behind the dumpster or something, who had been shot, didn't realize that he had.
Yeah. Robert, he was robbing a store and he got shot and he died. And so Robert, at this point in his kind of astral training, was being called to these things, and he was going to he was helping souls go up. In this one case, was Sarah talking about, this guy was hiding behind a dumpster, and all the cops were out there, and he thought he was about to have a shootout with the cops. And Robert comes astrally, because this guy's in the astral at that point, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, come with me." And the guy's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" He's like, "Get out of here. I'm about to have a shootout with the cops." And he's like, "No, man." He's like, "I think you've already passed. I'm here to help you." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" "No, I haven't." And Robert like takes him and shows him his body, like on the ground. And when he saw his body, he's like, "Oh my God." And then he was able to take him up. And this happens a lot. And so, if you're having a weird exchange with an entity, maybe sometimes ask, like try to get to know them, like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Absolutely.
Like, "Can I help you?"
Absolutely.
Because maybe they do need help and they're just not going to ask. So goes back to what I was saying earlier about there's so much of the stuff that we don't understand, and you don't understand something, you're scared, and you create these crazy ideas of what it is. And then when you start to understand it, you're like, oh, that makes so much more sense, So,
what's this? My next door neighbor has a ghost of the old woman who previously owned the house. I've seen good programs on ghosts. They walk the same path.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a ghost.
We have a ghost upstairs.
It's a sweet little old lady and her cat.
Both of our kids have seen her. So they do find that, like, so Robert Monroe talked, he had a few experiences where he talked about retrieving people from houses where they died in their house. Like this one lady in particular, he came to help her. He was just kind of, you never force anybody. Everyone has free will, even in the non-physical, but he came and he was like, "Hey, let me help you get out of here." And she's like, "No." She's like, "You must be one of them." And he's like, one of who? What do you mean?" And she was like, "One of the people that's coming and like changing my house." And he was like, "No, I'm here to help you." And she was like, "No." She's like, "People keep coming in here and they're painting the walls and they took down all my pictures." And she's like, "I keep yelling at them, but they won't stop." And so she was getting mad because her spirit's still in this house, but she died. And they're like remodeling her house. So when Robert Monroe came to like help retrieve her soul and help it move to the next, level, she thought that he was like another, one of the workers or somebody coming to paint or something. And she was yelling at him. And it was funny because like, it's not funny, but like you get this, this impression that she's just stuck there and she wants to live her life in this house. And she just keeps walking around the house, getting mad every time someone comes in and changes something. And then she gets mad because they can't hear her, but it's not clicking.
Realize,
she doesn't know she's dead. Yeah.
So like, think about if we passed and we were in the house and then people just started coming in, you'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
I'm here. What are you doing?
And you're talking to them, they're not answering.
Yeah.
And so that stuff happens. And but say somebody had like an experience with that lady, right? Say somebody moved into that house and then this ghost spirit thing is like messing with them. They're going to think it's this evil ghost, this evil spirit, right? And it's just this scared lady.
Yeah.
Who's just disembodied, So anyways, ghost is a fascinating topic. And I think a lot of times they get misidentified as demons because it can be freaky. We've had some freaky shit in this house. And, not that kind. Come on, guys. Mind out of the gutter. But no, like, this stuff happens and you kind of go off of your gut, like the feeling. Was it a good thing or a bad thing? Did I, you know what I mean? That's kind of how you have to, because it's all freaky anytime you're dealing with spirits.
She's not interested in leaving yet. I have spoke to her and her cat. She's perfectly happy where she's at.
Yeah.
She's not ready to move on. And that's okay too.
Our daughter shared a room with her and used to bring her tea. Knew what kind of tea she liked and stuff.
And now that child has moved out of the house, it is my responsibility to put a few cat treats out and some tea every once in a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, I guess maybe we should help her, but she seems
No, I asked her. She wasn't interested. I mean, I'll go talk to her this weekend.
She knows where to find us.
She was perfectly happy. We still put out tea and stuff for her, so why would she want to go anywhere? And her room is empty now, so she's just literally chilling in a room by herself.
And who knows? Maybe she has left. I don't know. I mean,
yes, I give her tea.
Yeah, and she
has her own teacup.
Robert Monroe talked about this: is that there's not really any urgency. Like it's one of those things where it'll eventually happen. There's not like an urgency, meaning like we have to hurry up and get them to their destination, or else something happens. Guy who wrote the Holographic Universe. Oh yeah, Michael Talbot.
We have that book.
Yep. So all right, let's move on to the next video we did was Far Journeys. Let me know in the comments if y'all liked this this format that I did, the whole book report kind of thing, like read and then give my interpretation and that kind of thing. Robert Monroe's books are incredible. They're my favorite books in the world. I think more people should read them, but I understand why when people read the first one, they don't read number 2 and 3 because they're so Robert Monroe, he was the nicest dude. And he's like this nice old man, but he was an engineer-minded person. He's very analytical and over analytical a lot of times. So his books are dense. He created new words, like new acronyms and stuff. Yeah.
Man.
So they're kind of hard to follow until you figure out his writing style and you figure out what the words mean and that kind of stuff. And even then, it's so wild. The stuff he's talking about, you have to read it multiple times, and they're so dense. There's so much in there. So I've read his books, and I'm not even kidding, each one at least 5 times. And that's because I learn new things every single time, and also because I know how important they are, and I want to fully understand them. So it's funny because when I went to the Monroe Institute, I knew more about his books than they did. Like that's not like saying anything bad about them because they're all very knowledgeable, but like I'm kind of obsessed with them. And so I was like, okay, let me do like a little book report thing with LOOSH, because LOOSH is making the rounds. I had, Jason Georgiani on a couple weeks ago, and we talked about LOOSH at one point, and then he went on Jesse Michaels and he talked about LOOSH again. But he did what everyone does, and they talk about the bad parts of LOOSH, right? And understandably so, because I mean, Robert Monroe did write a whole chapter on LOOSH and how it is what people say it is. And if you don't know, it is this energy source that people put out, and not just people, all creatures put out anytime they're having any sort of an emotional experience. And it's a life force. It's the same thing as like prana or chi or any sort of a life force. Those are all just different names for the same thing. And this life force that we put out varies in intensity and purity depending on the emotion. So the stronger the emotion, the more pure and more potent the energy is. And this energy is harvestable. This energy can be collected from us and can be transported to other places and used as a fuel. Okay, now that's all very true. And it's even true that our creator created us with that in mind, principally to be LOOSH producers. And there's been times in our history when we've been manipulated, and there's been even mass, kind of these cataclysms to produce large amounts of LOOSH and also reset the game board because the LOOSH producers, the beings, weren't right. The creator is according to Robert Monroe and all of his stuff, the creator is a engineer-minded person who likes to, who doesn't, I won't say likes to, who their goal with this entire thing, they call this a garden, and their goal is to make LOOSH producers. And so they're constantly tweaking and redesigning, and it even goes in depth about why the dinosaurs were taken out because they weren't good LOOSH producers, why we have all these different animals and everything, and why things, why things eat other things, and all. I mean, it goes in depth about everything on Earth, and it all makes perfect sense when you look through our history. But then it gets to humans, okay? And this is where it gets more hopeful, because all that's true. All that's true, that the creator is a creator who is created by another creator, and they're all created to create worlds and create gardens and create beings that produce LOOSH. LOOSH is this fuel that the source, the absolute, uses as the creative energy to create worlds, to create life. Basically, everything that exists because of LOOSH. We would not exist if it wasn't for LOOSH. Okay, so you can say LOOSH bad, our creator bad. If it wasn't for our creator, and if it wasn't for LOOSH, we wouldn't be here, right? I mean, so you have to look at everything through a perspective. So as Robert Monroe is getting this download, he calls it a rote, and he's unrolling this rote, and he's getting all this information about Earth's history and going through all the ages of all the different animals, sharks and sea animals and birds and dinosaurs and the cataclysms and the resets and all this stuff. And then it finally gets to humans. It's all very dark. All that's very dark and depressing, right? This is a LOOSH farm. We are being kind of manipulated and engineered to produce LOOSH. Now, where it gets more hopeful is that through this process, the engineer, who he's not doing any of this to torture or anything like this, his entire goal is just to produce loosh, right? Starts learning some things because he's analyzing, okay, what's producing the most loosh and why. And then he figures out there's something, a loosh distillate that's extremely pure, extremely potent. And it's like, the best loosh in the world, okay? And he realizes that this came from, well, let me step back one step. As he's going through the different versions of beings, and he finally gets to humanoids, right? And they're creating humanoids. He realizes all these good things that are producing loosh, but most of them are kind of bad. Like whenever they're lonely, they produce loosh. When they're depressed, when they're sad, when they're scared, all these things produce loosh. But the humanoid figure is very efficient. It's very good. It works good. It's a good model. It's a good design. So he's happy about all that. Then at one point he gets the idea to, and this is wild, all these other beings that he's created, they don't have this one capability, this one special thing that us modern humans have. And that is a piece of source, a piece of this creator. So the creator put a piece of the creator into this new model of human because he didn't want this being to just be like a hunter-gatherer. He didn't want this being just to be going around looking for food and fighting for survival. He wanted it to have this connection to source, this connection to the creator that would do something. It was an experiment to see if that longing for connection, that kind of like separation, that feel like something is out there, something bigger than me is out there and I want to find it, that drive would create this motivation to expand, to move, to grow, to evolve, to do all these different things. And when that happened, when the creator put part of itself in each person, that's when humans became the dominant species on Earth. If you think about it, for millions and millions of years, billions of years, humans didn't even exist. And when the kind of hominoid, was created on Earth, humans weren't at the top. It was like, Cro-Magnon man, and then it was like Denisovans, and it was Neanderthals. So why did humans dominate? Why did humans take out all those other types? Why are humans the alpha, and why are they the alpha by a mile? I mean, there's no one even close. It's because of that. So when that happened, humans just shot up the leaderboard, and I think that's kind of cool. Okay, now the other thing that happened is that humans, especially with the spark of divinity in them, started doing something new. Instead of just, fighting and fucking and doing all the stuff that humans used to do, now they started loving and caring. And like all animals love and care for their young and stuff, but think about how humans love and care on a different level. Humans will like do loving, caring things for people that they don't even know. People, usually in the animal kingdom, animals love their own, and animals will do things nice if it gets them something, right? Humans will do things nice because doing something nice for someone else makes you feel good, right? That's pretty cool. That's a unique thing. Like that doesn't really help us in survival. Most of the animal kingdom is all about survival, and everything they do helps them survive. And if it doesn't help them survive, they don't care. They don't do it, right? Why would they? But humans do stuff all the time that have nothing to do with survival.
Ricky.
We all have a piece of God in us, and when you die, it returns. Yes and no. So we all have a piece of God in us, but when you die, it doesn't return. When you die, you keep building yourself. So what Robert Monroe also found out is that the creator who created us was created by a different creator, right? And we're created by this creator, and we are creators ourselves who will become creators like the creator who created us and create other things. So one of the side benefit kind of things of this new arrangement that we're in, this new type of being that we are, is that we reincarnate. When we die, our soul continues on, and it keeps building this higher self. You keep building your, what Tom Campbell calls the IUOC, the individuated unit of consciousness. So you continue to build your soul, and your soul continues to come back around and have different lives. And when it's done with this whole earth thing, it can go and do other things. So you're always connected to source, okay? Always. But in addition to being connected to source, you are building your own soul. You're building your own creator type consciousness that at some point, when you just continue to level up, at some point you can be a creator like the creator that created us. And that's the cool thing. So so yes, in a way, we're like in this loosh farm, but here's the cool thing. The creator who created us is learning. So at the beginning, he was like, okay, this produces loosh. Cool, let's do that. Okay, this produces loosh. Cool, let's do that. And then as he started learning, he started realizing that, holy shit, all these other things produce loosh, right? Wars and anger and that stuff. But the thing that produces the most loosh in the universe, the highest quality, most potent loosh distillate is by far, and it's not even close, is love. Now, if our universe was evil and if our overlord was some demiurge that just has this as a prison planet and just wants to torture us, why would love be the most powerful form of loosh? And why would this be the sort of like the experiential lesson that our creators learn? People want to think that our creator is this omniscient, like perfect being that could do no wrong and knows everything. What Robert Monroe was told is that no, I mean, if that was the case, why would we be here? Like, why would we be doing all this stuff, right? It's because everything is growing and learning and evolving, even the creator that created us. Because the creator that created us is not what we call God. It's our creator, right? The ultimate God is something else, right? You get the impression, anyways, I can't say all this with certainty, you get the impression that the creator that created us is not the same thing as what we would call God, the creator of everything. It's the creator of us. Kind of like we have children, we created our children, right? We're not God to our children. We created our children, right? Like, just like my parents created me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't make them God, right? They're just my creators. So it seems like we have a creator, but that creator is not what we would really call God, So, but it's connected too. Like, it's like a Russian dolls, you know what I mean? Each one that's created by the creator that has a spark of the creator in them. It doesn't matter how far down you go. It's the whole fractal thing, the holographic universe. And a hologram, if you shatter a holographic plate, every single little piece has all the data to encode the whole. Every cell in our body has the DNA blueprint to recreate your entire body. You can take one cell out and I can get the DNA blueprint and create your entire body. That's how they clone. So we are fractals of the creator who created us, and they are fractals of the creator that created them. And that's why we're all connected to ultimate source that way, like the Russian dolls. And then when we become creators ourselves one day, we'll be able to create, and it keeps the chain going. So that's that. So it's like I did a post about Monsters Inc. Because there is a crazy parallel between Monsters Inc. and this. Because if you think about Monsters Inc., and I love how movies sometimes are it's like a divine download. It's like the system just puts this information into somebody and it's like, do something with this, like make a movie or a comic or something. People need to know this. And Monsters Inc., the movie, is about how these monsters scare kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've all seen Monsters Inc., right? Have you seen Monsters Inc. out there? The monsters scare kids. And what happens with the scare? Why do they do this? Remember the movie, right?
Yeah, it was to power their city. It was like how they made things go.
Yep. They stored the energy in the batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens at the end?
That's whenever Mike Wazowski gets the microphone, and instead of scaring people, he's making them laugh.
Because they figured out that laughter and joy created more energy than scares. Right. So then they went from scary monsters hiding under beds, scaring people, to then they started telling jokes and doing stand-up comedy and making them laugh and tickling them and stuff. Because they realized that they were still harvesting their energy, but they realized that the loving, joyful energy was more powerful than the fearful energy. Absolutely. That is the exact same story that Robert Monroe wrote about in this book in 1982 or something. And Monsters Inc. came out in the early 2000s, I believe.
I wonder if Disney paid him some royalties.
Right? I mean, it's the exact same story. But what you see is you see a evolution. The monsters in Monsters Inc. weren't bad. They were just playing. They had a job to do. And their job was, okay. I mean, if you remember, they were really, really nice. That was the funny part about the movie. They were really nice, but they had to pretend to be scary to scare the kids. Yeah. So they would be like, okay, get into character. We're going to go in there. We're going to scare these kids. And then they would do it, and they would kind of feel bad about it, right? And then when they met the little girl, and then the girl showed them, like, taught them love and this kind of stuff, then it changed everything. that's the exact same story Robert Monroe talks about LOOSH, is that, yes, it started off that way, like, because the creator was like, ooh, these things create LOOSH. So it was just running with that. And then the evolution was, the more it experimented and the more it did things, then it discovered. It didn't know it at the beginning. It discovered, oh, love, and it's like this progression, this evolution that we're all going through here on Earth, and that our creator went through. People don't like to think about the creator as evolving. They like to think about it as perfect. But what if the creator is evolving? What if our world is evolving? What if humans are evolving?
Yeah.
Isn't that so much more hopeful than just to think that our creator is just fucking with us for no reason, or someone else is fucking with us and the creator doesn't have control over the garden? It doesn't seem like that. It seems like we're moving to a place where we don't need war. We don't need fear and all these things. They still exist because we're not there yet. We're in the process of evolving. Like, you don't just jump from one to the next.
Yeah.
But those things aren't as necessary as they used to be. They still produce LOOSH though. So, as long as people are still feeding the system, I mean, because they talk about how there's these things called collectors, and the collectors buzz around Earth and take our LOOSH and transmit it back to, he calls it somewhere. He doesn't know exactly where it goes. So yeah, as long as we still keep putting out the fear LOOSH, they'll keep taking it. But absolutely. I think they would rather us put out the good LOOSH because it's actually more powerful. So, but that part's up to us. So
you got a couple questions if you want to scroll back up.
Yeah, see what you guys are saying out there.
Joey, a couple. There's one.
If we collectively understood this reality simulation fully, would it cease to exist, or would we just experience a higher level of consciousness? It's a good question. I don't know if we'll ever completely, like, collectively realize anything, because every person is at a different point in their journey. Like, let's say, Joel, that we had conclusive evidence that this was not base reality, that there was a spirit world, that reincarnation is real, and that we come in here as a learning simulator, for consciousness development. Let's say that we could prove that unequivocally, and we told the world. 90% of the world would not believe you. They just wouldn't. They would say, you're stupid. So it's one of those things where I don't think we'll ever just have this, like, wake up and everybody wakes up and realizes, there's a matrix or whatever, because we're in this, what John Archibald Wheeler calls a participatory universe. Everybody's sort of rendering their own world based on their experience, their feelings, where they're at in their life, their previous incarnations, where their consciousness and soul is at a development level. It's kind of like going to a school. Say you went to a school, there's going to be different grades. Well, everybody in every grade is going to think a different thing. Like, you can't go to the 7th graders and tell them 12th grade stuff. They won't understand. There's no context, right? So it's a great question, but I don't think the goal is to have this, like, collective 5D ascension thing like people in the New Age talk about. I don't really think that's how it works, because everybody's at a different place. I mean, young kids, they're not going to even know what the hell we're talking about. So you can't just have this across the board ascension. You can have an across the board, like, leveling up of consciousness. Like, say something really dramatic happened, some sort of worldwide event or some sort of sighting or something. All of a sudden, everybody takes a step up because your awareness just went up, and everybody in the world's, like, thinking, like, what the hell was that? So everyone's thinking, and all of a sudden we're ticking up the ladder, but they're all going to think different things. So that's just the reality. Everyone is going to view it differently. So yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be just a single, realization. I think that's how this place is designed. It's very brilliantly designed and engineered, to be a training simulator at a very individual level. So individuals will realize it, and they'll level up, and maybe they'll click out of this existence. But I don't think collectively it'll ever happen. So I don't think this reality will just, like, cease to exist. No. It's just like whenever you go to school and you graduate, that school's still there because there's new kids coming into the school, So you might ascend and you might become an ascended master and you might graduate, but there's going to be some brand new soul that's never been to Earth that's like, oh, what the fuck is this place? And they have to start at the beginning. They have a long road.
Robert even said was that, entities out there that could tell that you had been to Earth school. We're
Yeah.
like, oh, wow.
Yeah, they're jealous.
Yeah.
He said when you are out in the astral and you get far away from Earth, that most of them have never even heard of Earth, you know. So we think of everything through like this Earth-centric lens where like humans are awesome and Earth is awesome. But like to like intelligences way out there in other dimensions, they're like, I don't know what the hell you are.
Yeah.
I don't know what this Earth place is. But he said that whenever you are a graduate of the Earth life experience, it's almost like a graduate of this university we're in, and you meet an intelligence, they immediately want to become a graduate of the Earth life experience. Like it becomes this whole, it's like when you meet like a, you know, like a Navy SEAL or something, or like a special forces, you know, you'll be like, man, you're an impressive person, right? It makes you want to be one of those, right? That's kind of the impression I get when spirits or consciousnesses that have never been human before meet a graduate. Don't just meet a human, because you can be a human and leave without really graduating, without really fully, you know, like, you know, conquering the Earth life experience. But when they meet an Earth life graduate, he says that it's a whole different thing. Like it's this whole different respect. Like, oh my God, like where the hell did you say you're from? You know, how do I get there? I think that's why there's 8 billion people here. I think like the more that people have kind of graduated and left and gone to other, you know, places, it's kind of like, it's like word of mouth marketing, you know? So
exploded.
Yeah. We're going viral, guys. We're going viral in the astral. What else we got? What are the peeps talking about out there? So much. I'm looking for all caps, so I'm not reading everything. Remember, if you have a question, put it in all caps.
So there's a little question. See that?
Oh, look at that. Huh. Okay, cool. So make all caps or do the little question thing. I don't know. Y'all figured out how to do that. Don't ask me.
Nope, that's StreamYard.
Oh, StreamYard just knows what's the question or not?
Oh, yeah, it detects a question with the
Huh.
or
Cool.
the word.
Josh says, how do we graduate Earth? Fucking seriously. Isn't that the $1 million question? So, you know, and it really is a good question, because I don't know. I don't know if there's like a definitive, like, if you do this, then you graduate. What it seems like the point of this is what Robert Monroe, I think, would say, is you come here voluntarily to kind of dip in and have some experiences, kind of like putting on a VR headset, right? You're just going to play the game. You're not meant to keep that VR headset on for life and go around with it. You're just meant to play that game and then go back to your real life. And what happens is you come in and you get addicted. And with the more, so he would describe it this way. You come in for your first incarnation, and the guy, he calls him Ed, the entry director, says, you know, okay, you got to sign this waiver, which says you're going to forget everything you ever knew. You're going to forget your past lifetimes, and you're going to forget everything. And you're going in there and you're going to be whoever the hell, you know, you are. And you're going to think that that's it, you know. And then when you die, you're going to come up here and we'll talk to you. We'll reevaluate and see what's up. And you can choose to go back in, or you can choose to go on your way. And the people are like, cool, let me go in. You know, I just want to have one sojourn, have some fun, and then, you know, I'll go on my merry way. They come in, life is fun, it's crazy, it's kooky, it's scary, it's all the things. You have all these emotions. It's like so much happens. You have a family, you fall in love, you make some money, you lose it, all this stuff. And then you die and you go up and they're like, all right, how'd it go? And you're like, that was fucking nuts. And they're like, okay, you want to go back in, or do you want to go on your way? You know, you're free to leave. And they're like, no, I want to go back in because, you know, I died young and I didn't do this. I lost the girl and da, da, da. So then they go back in and then they have more experiences. And then they're like, come back out. Oh, how'd you do? You know, that's the past life review. How was it? You know, oh, it was good, but, you know, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done this. No. Okay. Well, do you want to go back in? Or do you want to go on your way? Oh, I want to go back in. I want to fix those things. I want to do better next time. Okay. Then they go back in. And you can see how now you're in the loop. Now you're addicted, because now you're building karma. Like, okay, shit, in that last life, I knocked off that dude, and, you know, I shouldn't have done that. And okay, in the next life, oh my God, I was a warrior and I killed 55 people, and, you know, and it's like, shit, you know. So now you're getting deeper. Now, you know, you're picking up these particles of karma and you're weighing yourself down. And then at a certain point, you start getting parts of your soul get stuck in like these, what Robert Monroe calls belief system territory, where Now, instead of going back up to the higher self and reuniting with your group, now you're stuck. You get stuck in these places along the way. And then your higher self, your oversoul, is trying to like retrieve the pieces because it can't leave until it's whole, because you can't leave parts of you behind. So now what started off as this simple thing, like let's go into Earth and have some fun. Now you can see how convoluted it is. Now you have had dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of lifetimes. You have pieces of you stuck in these belief systems. You have karmic debt that you have to fix. You have all these things going on. So now it's not as simple as just, I want to go, I want to leave. Because now you don't even know go where. Like now at this point, you forgot who you even were before. You don't even know what your options are. So you can see how it gets messy. And it's not a prison planet. We're not forced to stay here. But it's kind of like, I use the Van Wilder analogy. It's like going to school and just getting lost in school and basically being like, I don't want to graduate because once I graduate, it's real life and all that stuff. So I'm just going to stay here. That's what a lot of human souls do. They kind of get stuck here. It's not that they're trapped, it's that they're stuck. Now, you asked, how do you graduate Earth? The main thing would be to realize, I think step one is realize what this place is. You have to understand what it is and what your role is, that you're not just your physical body, that you're not stuck here. This isn't a trap. But you also have to understand that, there probably are pieces of you that are stuck. You have to help those get unstuck. You have to reunite with your higher self, bring all your pieces together. It's like getting the band back. And then at a certain point, Robert Monroe calls it escape velocity. When you have escape velocity, when you have all your pieces reunited, you've undone all the things all the trouble you've caused and all the, the karma and everything. When you fix all that and you have all your pieces together, then you can lift off, essentially, as he describes it. So it's not real easy to answer that question, how do you graduate? Because it's not just like, oh, once you've been every race and every gender and every culture and every religion, then you can graduate. It's not quite that easy. Battery, yeah. So long answer to your easy question. Earth is a tricky place because the more you come back and the more that you reincarnate, it's almost like the messier your situation gets and the harder it is to leave. So, but I think just kind of waking up is a big step one. Understanding what this place is a big step one. So let's keep going. Good questions, guys. I saw a couple people ask. Let's talk about Jesus and his connection with LOOSH. That's a fun one because, I talked earlier about how now it seems like this is like a new model upgrade that we have this like piece of the creator in us. I think the Christ consciousness was a big, it was almost like putting a new program into the system in a way. And I really think that the whole Christ thing was, and I did a video on it before. I'll do another one. The Explorer team at the Monroe Institute, so the Explorer team was these like elite level astro explorers that the Monroe Institute put together, and all this is on tape. And Robert Monroe would like lead them on these missions, these astral missions. And it was super interesting. And one of them that they went on was talking to somebody called Miranon. And Miranon is like this one of their main non-human intelligent guides that they would meet in the astral, and that would tell them things and take them places. And one of the times it was about, okay, what was Christ? Like, who is Christ? What was Christ consciousness? And so they did a whole astral exploration at the Monroe Institute, talking with Miranon and figuring out what Christ was and what the purpose was. And according to Miranon and Monroe Institute, it was basically like a program, like the consciousness that came into the Christ figure, right, knew that they were going to be killed. They knew that was going to be, they knew what they were getting into, let's put it that way. And that the information they were bringing in is kind of like a Trojan horse, right? So if you want to get information into the system, right, just say we're in a simulator. I don't call it a simulation, but say we're in a simulator. You want to get a new line of code in, you got to put it in somehow. And the way they put it in was was by using this being that was going to have so much attention and so many people on it. If you read like the Gnostic text, especially like Dolores Cannon, she wrote Jesus and the Essenes, and really learn who Jesus was and how he traveled the whole world studying in all the mystery schools and the impact that he had, not through like the lens of Christianity, because Christianity, like, Jesus wasn't a Christian. Jesus was more of a Gnostic than a Christian. Christianity really came after him. And when you look at the impact he had on the world, when he died, it was like releasing that information. All of a sudden, they put in that code into the simulator, and now it releases. And what released out was this. It was, I think, when humans got the upgrade, that now we have the divinity within us. We have self-authority, that we have self-independence, self-sovereignty. And that's what Jesus's main mission was, is to teach people, hey, don't praise me. Don't praise the Romans. Don't praise the kings. Don't praise the government. Like each one of us is the important thing. And that was his main message. And that was this, like, it was like a program update. It was an upgrade to the system at that point, that, that was when everything changed. We went from like fear and basically hive-minded people to more sovereign-minded, knowing that, like this Christ consciousness is within us and we all have a connection to source and all this kind of stuff. Now that got completely perverted by like modern day religions that then tried to steal the power back and say, no, the power comes through us. You have to get to God through us. But that's not what Jesus taught. And I really think that the way that we move, to the next level is for people to realize that, if you like going to church and you like the people there, awesome, do it. But you still have to realize that you are powerful, that the power is within you. And that's what, Jesus taught. And I think that's how we get out of this fear-based LOOSH mindset into the more loving LOOSH mindset of like, the second half of, or the ending of Monsters, Inc. Comes from people understanding that they have the power and they have the authority and they have the, you have God inside of you. It's not out there. You don't have to go to church to find God or anything like that. It's inside of you. And that's the biggest thing. So, when somebody asked, Zap Gamer asked, let's talk about Jesus and his connection with LOOSH. What I would say to that is his connection to LOOSH was trying to get us to realize that love is the most potent form of LOOSH, not fear. And I think that was Jesus's biggest contribution. So, Fight World. Some of y'all's names are wild. Do you have any advice on pursuing a meaningful career and making money while understanding there is so much more to life? I almost feel gross making money now that I know all this. Yeah, you're not alone. Like usually spiritual-minded people typically are not greedy and can even, like you said, feel gross making money. How I would explain it is that money is a resource like anything. It's like water, it's like air, it's like food. Okay. You need it. You need it to live in this world. Now, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how enlightened you are, it doesn't matter how good of a person you are. You need money to do things. So it's all about what you do. It's a tool. With a hammer, you can hurt somebody or you can build a house. It's all about how you use the hammer. So if you think that money's yucky, do good things with it, right? Now, all of a sudden, you've changed your mindset on money. Like say you use money to help people, or you use money to build things that benefit people, or you use money to bring joy to yourself, which is very important. You have to enjoy life, and you use money to make other people happy, right? Then is money bad? Then are you gross for making money if you're using this money in all these positive ways? No. Now money is this powerful tool, right? So
make the world a better place.
Yeah. So it's all about how you use money.
Yep.
Money is programmable. Like I tell people that it's a mirror to who they are. Like people think that money will solve their problems. No. If you're a crackhead, money's going to make your problems way worse because you're going to buy a lot more crack, right? So, but being serious, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, that's why like a lot of people get rich and it's like the worst thing that ever happened to them because they were having bad habits. They had a bad relationship with money and stuff, and it just spirals. But other people take money and they can be really rich and they do all these amazing things with it. So it's a mirror of you. So I think get good with yourself first and then try to make a bunch of money, because if you're in a good place spiritually and emotionally, and you make a bunch of money, you're going to do really good things with that money. But if
Yeah.
you're not in a good place and you make a bunch of money, you'll probably do bad things with that money. So yeah, don't look
Or
at
greedy things, not
Yeah.
necessarily bad, but
well, you know what I mean,
greedy.
negative things. But it also doesn't mean that if you work really hard and you make some money that you're not allowed to enjoy it or treat yourself. I mean, people need to get over that whole, like, it's okay to enjoy things. It's okay to say, you know what, I worked really hard, I want to go on a vacation or something. Just try not to be materialistic in the sense of like you do things because of the way it makes you look. Like, if you want to drive a fast car because you like going fast, cool. If you want to drive a fast car because it makes you look cool and people look at you like you're big shit, well, that's probably not good. So
That's ego, yeah.
yeah, that's ego. Just do things that bring joy to you, do things that bring joy to other people. And sometimes in life you need money to do that, and that's not a bad thing.
See a comment. I wonder if being born poor in a poor country is hard mode. I would actually say the opposite.
that's what I was thinking.
I've had a past life regression client that actually had one life where she was like super famous and rich and like lived in Hollywood when it first, was limelight and all that kind of stuff. Had everything that she could possibly dream of, and she was the most miserable in that life. Like nobody truly loved her. She didn't understand because money was always an object in it. So it's like, is this person really care about me, or does this person care about my money? And then she had another life that I took her to where she was literally living in an African village and they didn't have anything, but it was all about love and family and the collective and their whole culture. And like she cried during that life, like during that regression of that life, because she could feel that love. So in that client was like, wow, you would have thought it would be the opposite. I had all the money in the world, but I was more happy, in a straw hut. So
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
Yeah, because I mean, happiness like has nothing to do with like personal wealth or anything. You know what I mean? Like happiness is happiness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't buy happiness.
They don't even know about like iPhones and all the crap, that we
Yeah.
deal with, of like the keeping up with the Joneses kind of stuff that we do to ourselves, essentially.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you use money to do things that bring you joy, right? Like then that's way better than
Yeah.
using money to like buy a nicer house or a new car or better clothes or something,
Yeah.
Like use the money, like go on, we live in an amazing time. You can hop on a plane and fly to the other side of the world tomorrow and immerse yourself in a brand new culture and meet new
Yep.
people that you would never be able to meet before. Do that. And guess what? That costs money. So for people to say that like money's bad and you don't want money, it's like, wouldn't it be cool to hop on a plane tomorrow and just go, to, I don't know, Singapore or Australia, or just go to some place and just immerse yourself in a new culture? Like you got to buy that plane ticket. So, and granted, we teach a lot of things having to do with manifestation, and there are ways to manifest things without money. I totally get it. So this
starts with gratitude.
Yeah. So this is not saying you have to have money to do anything, but I mean, come on, we have to live in the real world. And, even if you were able to manifest a plane ticket and you go somewhere, you're going to want some food when you get there and a hotel. And you know what I mean? So the reality is, yes, you will need money to do some things. And yes, when you have a decent amount of money, it makes life a little easier. And if you use that money to bring joy to yourself and joy to others, it will make your life more fulfilling as well. So there's nothing gross about that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what else we got. Jordan, I just went vegetarian. I recall you saying you were Vigo and went back to meat. Did you have negative health effects from just plants? Diet's a big topic that comes up a lot. I'm different, so everybody's different, right?
Yep.
I have naturally high blood sugar that I've fought my entire life. I've been basically pre-diabetic my entire life, even when I was a kid, like young. So
it just has to do with the way that certain things function in your body.
Yeah. So it's, I'm not like bitter about it, but for me, when I eat, higher protein, higher fat, lower carb, lower sugar, I feel better. Now, having said that, I still eat a lot of asparagus, Brussels sprouts, cucumbers, avocados, olives, I eat a good deal of plants, a lot of, greens. But when I was pure vegan, I didn't feel good. I got a lot of headaches. I had a lot of issues because my blood sugar was just high. It just was.
Yep.
And I did different things to try to bring it down. I exercise like crazy, sit in a sauna. I take things like berberine and different things that bring it down, cinnamon and everything.
Ceylon
cinnamon. I did all the things. But when I was on a more vegetarian diet, you consume more, sugars and carbs, and you just do. My body just tends to do better.
He does best on carnivore.
Yeah.
So in our house, I make 3 meals at every meal.
Yeah, got a short order cook here. So, but like that's just me. But everyone's different. If you don't have blood sugar problems, well, then you're in a totally different place. I didn't go carnivore because it was a trend or anything. I actually reluctantly went. I started doing keto because I was having a bunch of headaches and I just wasn't feeling good when I was vegetarian. And I was just introducing more foods, and I started putting like chicken and eggs and stuff back in, and I started feeling a little better. And I was like, okay, I was learning about keto, and I was like, I'm going to go keto and see what that does. So then I started going keto, and I started feeling a lot better. And I lost a lot of weight, and I was like, okay, cool. I think I'm going the right direction here. And then it just kind of kept going, and then eventually I just got carnivore, and I was one of those dudes. I was eating nothing but red meat and eggs all day, every day.
Yep.
I mean, butter in my coffee, butter on my steak, eggs on top of my steak, like making steak sandwiches, steak, eggs, steak. Fucking, that's all I ate. And I felt amazing. I mean, it is the weirdest thing. And I felt like this weirdo where I felt like I was like sponsored by carnivore. Like I was like, I got to tell everybody, it's fucking awesome. And I was so excited because I had felt bad for years. And even after I was healing, like after I healed my body, because I was like bad for years, like really bad pancreatitis and dying. And when I got clean, I was healing my body, and I healed it through vegetarian. And I went vegetarian. I was like, okay. And I healed all these problems with my organs. So I was like, yay. Like I'm healing all my organs. Yay. I'm sober. Yay. And I was like, but I still feel like shit. You know what I mean? I didn't have any energy, and my thyroid was all messed up and all that. And I was like, man, what is up? And so I just had to keep experimenting. So I didn't go carnivore lightly. It actually took me years of trial and error, different ways of eating. And then I finally got to carnivore, and I was like, for me, it worked. It worked so good, scary good. And now I'm kind of like in between.
And whereas it's the opposite for me, I tried to do carnivore and I tried to do keto, and I have gallbladder problems.
Yep.
And my body was like, no, ma'am.
Yep.
So it's all about listening to your own body.
That's it. It doesn't matter what the influencers say, or it doesn't matter what I say. Try it. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, do something else,
And that is why I am a short order cook. 9 meals a day.
Keeping us all healthy. How can I use Robert Monroe's work to win the lottery? I knew that would come up. So
we figured that one out.
So basically,
we'd be gifting money to all of you.
It's all about intention. So if you're trying to remote view or use these things, precognition or anything, to win the lottery out of like greedy, selfish purposes, it's not going to work. You can ask any of the great remote viewers. There's a lot of people that still remote view for like the FBI, for law enforcement, to find like missing children, that kind of stuff. Lynn Buchanan, Joe McMoneagle, all these people have done it. And they'll tell you straight up, when you're remote viewing for a good purpose, like say you're remote viewing a missing child, you'll find them so much easier than if you're trying to remote view the numbers to the lottery. There is this I'm telling you, the reason why the creator figured out that LOOSH, the best LOOSH is love, and that there's this like underlying like unconditional love, layer to the universe, is because the universe is good inherently. Places like Earth is like a duality school where we have good and bad, but the universe is good. And there is this like sort of like filter that prevents people from being psychically bad, because think about the havoc you could raise on this world if you had like immense psychic abilities and you're a fucking asshole. Like you could do so many bad things. So there luckily is a safeguard there. And it's going to be very hard for you to remote view and win the lottery or use any of these hacks. But having said that, you can do it. Even Ingo Swann and Russell Targ and all them, they were remote viewing the silvers futures back in the like 80s, 70s and 80s, and they made a good amount of money. And then they stopped doing it because it stopped working. That's what they said. Is like it worked at first and then it stopped working because they started getting greedy. And it's all about having pure and good intentions. So don't worry about winning the lottery. Worry about other things. Worry about good pure intentions, and you'll be way more effective. People always say, oh, if you can remote view, then just remote view the lottery. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You'll get close. Tom Campbell even tells a funny story how it was either him or one of his students remote viewed the lottery, and they got every single number exactly right -1. It was one number off across the board. And he said it felt like like almost like the universe was like a wink, like a little joke, like, oh, you think you can outsmart me, kind of a deal. So even the best psychics in the world have trouble using their psychic abilities to do things like winning lotteries and stuff because it's not pure intention. All right, what do we got here? What do we got?
And just I think a couple people asked about Jordan doing a part 2 book review or book report style. Yes, that's definitely coming. I've been trying to get him to do this for like 5 years, so I'm super excited.
Do y'all want a sneak peek?
Received.
Can I give him a sneak peek of Tuesdays?
I don't even know what the sneak peek is.
We're going hardcore, y'all.
Oh yeah, I do know what the sneak peek is.
Okay. So I am going to do more on the trilogy. Okay. Journeys Out of the Body, Far Journeys, and Ultimate Journey. I got them all back here, and I'm going to keep going because people really liked it. And I like it too. I mean, like I said, I've read each of these books many times. You don't have to twist my arm to read them to you guys. And I actually enjoy reading it and kind of stopping and pondering it and thinking about it. So I will go into like the more like hardcore parts of the books, like, kind of go to the certain sections that are a little more, there's like the Gathering, all the alien ships, around Earth. That one's wild. There's especially this book, Far Journeys, is it's a bit darker than his other books. The first one, he's kind of having fun playing with his out of body stuff. And the third one, he makes some more, he's putting the pieces together and it comes to this beautiful culmination, and it's fascinating. The second one is in his like middle part of his exploration where he has these immense abilities, and he's having some very dark experiences with entities, with aliens, with different things, learning about how our reality works. And it's really messing with him. He goes through like a dark night of the soul through a lot of this, but then he also goes to the future, and the future part is nuts. Then he goes 1 million years in the past and meets advanced humans, and that's really exciting and interesting. And then his experience with the comedian on the UFO is really fun. So yeah, I'll go into more in there, and that'll be fun. So we are going to do more book report style stuff, but the next one I'm going to do is the analysis and the assessment of the gateway process. So this is the CIA documents. I'm sure you guys have heard about all this, I'll find there's one particular little drawing in here from Ishtok Bentov that's kind of famous and is kind of known. I don't know, you always see it in all the thumbnails every time somebody does a video on this. There it is. This little consciousness grid thing. I don't even know if you can see that. Anyways, this is the complete book, or the complete text of the CIA analysis and assessment of the gateway process. And it's freaking fascinating because it goes into not just the gateway process, the Monroe Institute, it goes into David Bohm, Ishtok Bentov, even the holographic universe. It goes into what our reality is, how we can manipulate our reality and edit our reality, all the tips and tricks for, traversing different dimensions and altering your states of consciousness, and all the amazing things, healing yourself, remote viewing, time travel, all of that's in here. But if you want to talk about dense, there's nothing in the world denser than this. I mean, they have run-on sentences that don't even qualify as run-on sentences. I mean, it's almost like an entire page with no stopping. It's like, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, when you're trying to describe what happens through gateway,
yeah,
sometimes it is a run-on sentence.
So, but if y'all don't know, this analysis and assessment of the gateway process was a CIA. I mean, it was the Army that was doing it. It was INSCOM, which is the Intelligence and Security of the Army, that was tasked with going to, this was back during the Cold War, and US found out that Russia had secret psychic spies and we wanted our own. They found out about Robert Monroe and what he was doing, and they're like, hey, go there, figure out what the hell this guy's up to and learn everything and come back and teach us. So this is the military assessment of the Gateway program. And for him to figure out what the hell Gateway was all about, he had to learn about what reality was, what consciousness was, what, you know, altered states of consciousness were, what aliens were, what dimensions were. So he learned about all this stuff and put it in this assessment that he went back to his superiors and gave them this full assessment. This is what turned into Project Stargate, the secret spy program, all that stuff. Is super fascinating, and it's some of the most eye-opening information you'll ever hear anywhere. And I'm going to do a full breakdown, book report, in-depth, deepest dive you've ever seen on this stuff starting Tuesday. So buckle up. That shit's crazy. And since I have this background knowledge of the Monroe Institute, having been there, having read all the books multiple times, I even have like these like things that I found before I went to the Institute, that I was gathering all of the like old workbooks from like the 60s and stuff that are super fascinating. So, I mean, I know this stuff inside and out, and so, you know, I'll be able to shine some light and give you all perspective on that stuff that probably won't find anywhere else. So anyways, be looking for that Tuesday. Tuesdays is going to be a lot of fun.
The comparison between Dolores' book, The Garden,
yeah,
and Monroe. Yeah, we kind of like have always found it very interesting, kind of that Dolores and Robert were like finding the same information, but like Robert was more of like a scientific, hard research, nuts and bolts, and that is how Jordan is. And Dolores was more of like just trusting and letting it like flow, and that's more of how I am. It's kind of like a, you know, masculine,
yin
feminine.
and yang. Yeah.
I mean,
God, if we could have got them together.
Oh, dude, that would have been amazing.
Imagine those two, because they were both like he reminds me of the Quaker Oats guy, and she reminds me of like everyone's grandma, like literally everyone's grandma.
Yep. She looked just like my grandma.
She did.
I mean,
crazy.
Like it literally the first, and even her mannerisms, like the way that she moved her mouth and like how she would sit with her hands folded on her chest, and like my grandma, the hair, all of it.
Yeah. So God, if we could have got them two together, but yeah, they came to a lot of the same conclusions. And that's how you know when something's getting closer to the truth, is if it's becoming, you know, seen from like multiple different vantage points, right? Like different people from different backgrounds and different walks of life and different perspectives are coming to the same conclusions. It seems like there's something there. Yeah, Dolores and Robert came to a lot of the same conclusions. They even used a lot of the same words and terminology. And yeah, so she had a whole book called Keepers of the Garden, I believe that's what it's called. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she talked a lot about the, she didn't call them gardeners, she calls them custodians.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, they're all describing
they were barking
the
up the same tree from different directions. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Totally. Two of my favorite people.
Yeah. And I think that both of them would want for people to expand on where they started. I don't think that either one of them would want for us to stay locked in what they had created. I think they would have expected for us to build off of that. You know what I'm saying?
I think that they would both be very disappointed that we have not got further than we have. You know, I think that we're fucking running on a treadmill for the most part. Like, we should be so much further. These guys were doing this shit. They were telling us about this stuff.
I know.
I mean, Robert Monroe was telling us about this stuff in the 70s, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, there's no excuse.
But hey, Paul just announced that they're restarting their research.
Oh no, I'm mad at humanity, not at the Monroe. Humanity should be further along. But anyways, you know, teach their own. We're all getting there.
We're all getting there.
We're all walking each other home, right?
That's right.
So anyways, that's kind of that. That's an hour and a half. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I appreciate everybody for showing up. The LOOSH one was very popular. I thought it was very timely. I always talk about LOOSH in a positive way. I interviewed Sarah Breskman Cosme last year, and she was talking about demons. And she said what demons was this egregore that we create, and the whole purpose of it is to take our negative energy and funnel it away so that it doesn't seep into the greater universe. It's like a sewer system. And I do resonate with that, because it's the same thing with the loosh, is that it is what we make of it, right? So if fear is a powerful loosh, but love is a more powerful loosh, then let's produce more love. If there's parasitic entities eating your negative loosh, quit feeding them, right? So I think that I started seeing a lot of viral posts and stuff talking about loosh because it's back in the news, because Georgiani was on Jesse Michaels and all that. And I was like, okay, the whole thing is there's two chapters on loosh in this book. The first chapter on loosh is very dark. And Robert Monroe even goes into like a dark kind of night of the soul and a depression afterwards. And then the next chapter is when he goes back to his inspec friends, and they're like, okay, now you're ready for the rest of the story, essentially. And they tell him the rest. And the rest is so much more positive and hopeful. But no one talks about it. No one talks about the second half. And you have to talk about the second half. So I was like, okay, if everyone's gonna be talking about loosh, I got to throw my hat in the ring, and let's hear it from the man. This wasn't my opinion. I read, verbatim his words, and Robert Monroe's words paint a picture of loosh being an evolution. It's a fuel source. It's an energy byproduct from human emotion, from all emotion. And it is what it is. It's life force. It's an energy. That doesn't make it good or bad. It is what it is. But the realization, the evolution, is in the understanding that love is the most powerful form of loosh. And I just don't think you can talk about loosh without talking about that. It's crazy to talk about loosh and not talk about that, because that's the most important part. If not, you're living in the past. If not, you're going backwards. Okay, we need to be going forwards. That's my rant. So everybody love everybody.
That's right. It's all about love. It's the most powerful thing you can do.
And yeah, Kel, I did hear Campbell say that, Tom, and Robert, he's very open about that. He was raised on a farm. He relates
Monroe Institute is a farm.
Yeah. Monroe Institute is a nonprofit, because they literally have so many cows, and that they're able to operate as a nonprofit because it is a working farm.